I believe today we are seeing some piece of legislation being voted upon. Now, just a little backstory for folks. I don't know if you're still working for them, but in the past, of course, you've been heavily involved in the gun safety issue with mayors against illegal guns. And today in the Senate, I believe we're seeing some legislation that is supposedly going to be voted upon. Is that correct?
That is correct. And as I like to at least go off on one or two complete tirades on your show, I might as well start off by saying that no matter what happens in the future, what they do, I don't care, if they suddenly become socialists. Mark Pryor and Mark Begich, the cowardly Marks from Alaska and Arkansas, who filibustered their own party's already compromise bill that isn't as strong as we would want it to be, are both dead to me.
All right, so all right, back up and catch me up here because I've been half out of it because of this illness I've had. At the beginning of the week, it looked like it was shifting day to day as to whether or not the bill would be filibustered, whether or not it would get a vote, and then I vaguely, in some haze of sort of feverish cold that I had, I heard Joe Manchin and Toomey getting together. And I thought I was having some type of like bizarre Alice in Wonderland dream. Just walk through the week for us a little bit if you could.
It is kind of a bizarre. It would seem that way because I have to admit I didn't fully expect it either. But what essentially Joe Manchin, credit where credit is due, because I remember when he did that campaign commercial back when he took out his rifle and shot a hole in the EPA bill.
Right, the cap and trade.
Yay, another one of those Democrats. So glad to have him. But like Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, who's another example, and Mark Warner, some of these people actually seem to have a human side to them, believe it or not to be complete cyborgs, and seem to be changed by things. And there was for being from West Virginia, you have to look at it and say, for Manchin running away from this bill and just embracing the NRA's talking points as an A-rated NRA guy would have been the easy thing to do. And yet, they were involved in negotiations. It was him and Chuck Schumer, who's always been very pro gun control, and Mark Kirk, who is by far the most moderate Republican in the Senate right now, who's always gotten an F from the NRA. And they had Tom Coburn originally, who himself also another crazy right-winger who seemed to actually see what happened because there's no motivation for him from Oklahoma to get involved. But he still seems to believe in this paranoid fantasy that there's going to be a national registry, which is ridiculous. And sadly, people that are sometimes allies, who I'm not going to spare my criticism of, and the ACLU came out and helped that argument by trying to claim that in this new bill we'd be looking at potentially some sort of keeping of records, which is in fact false, and the ACLU should come out and apologize for that, for making incorrect statements and hurting this bill's chances. But I don't want to digress.
Well, what is the reality of that? I mean, there's not going to be like records kept in some vault in D.C. waiting, for the purge.
No,
that of course would come.
Federally registered, federally licensed dealers right now keep these records. Any records of anybody when they do the records when somebody passes the background check. Anybody who passes it, records are destroyed within 24 hours. This stuff does not go to the federal government by law. They can't keep a federal database, and by law, for the people the people that will now be added to this, which are private sellers at gun shows, as well as gun sales on the internet, which is a huge source of gun trafficking. Those are places; those are areas that will be added. So neighbor-to-neighbor sales and things like, or not sales, but let's say you give a gun to your neighbor, that's not going to be covered under this.
Right.
And I think it should be, but that's the compromise. That's where we're at. And so it's bad enough we have to listen to Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, but I have to hear people, and I'm sorry, again, I'm on a tirade right now. I have to hear whatever imbecile at the ACLU doesn't understand how to read and doesn't understand apparently how to look at a bill and understand it, has to come out and say that this thing is going to lead to, for the new people added on the internet and the new people who are going to be covered under this, and new people who are private sellers at gun shows, that some of that could lead to a registry. So first thing I'll tell all of you listening is, why don't you call the ACLU and tell them to shut up and get their facts right and stop trying to undermine what will be the biggest step forward in the safety of our children, perhaps in 20 years, if we can get this thing passed. And that's the line that Mitch McConnell and people like him are pushing forward too. This national registry. That's what Wayne LaPierre is saying. That's who the ACLU has climbed into bed with. So it is incorrect.
Now,
right?
Isn't this with that said? Isn't this though? I mean, to be fair, and also to be full disclosure, I did not see the remake, but in the first version of Red Dawn, we know what happened, right? I mean, the Cuban and Russian generals went to the gun stores and found out who bought the guns, and then confiscated them and put them into the camps. So are you suggesting that was some type of fiction?
No, I think you're correct about that. I do have to admit that often in society like that, when Harrison Ford had to hunt down the replicants in Blade Runner,
right?
He found out which replicants had their guns registered by the new gun registry.
So you're one of these guys who think that just because that Harrison Ford can do it, but that somehow our federal government's not going to do it.
Right. I mean, how else could you catch Rutger Hauer? I mean, he was in great shape. He was doing flips all over. I mean, those replicants are some kick-ass guys.
Right. I mean,
so yes, in that future world, if we do become the Blade Runner world, perhaps it will happen. In this world, I would like to say to Wayne LaPierre, the NRA, sadly the ACLU, Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz, also known as Joe McCarthy, and every other liar about this, federal law prohibits this. So what you're looking at here is 68 in the end, just to go forward, because remember Harry Reid didn't pass that whole filibuster reform thing?
Right.
This was just to be able to debate the bill. 68 senators, including, how many was it, 16 Republicans. And some surprises, I have to admit. I mean, Coburn voted on the right side of this, to go forward and have this debate after kids were literally slaughtered in Newtown. So let's talk about this the way it is, and with assault weapons that blew parts of their bodies off. And we decided we should go forward and talk about the ways we can best protect the citizens of this country through passing reasonable legislation to improve public health. I mean, that's in the end what we're talking about here. And a number of Republicans have played a constructive role. Now, when Tom Coburn started getting freaked out that this, maybe this could be a registry, I don't know, although he did vote the right way in the end, Senator Manchin, to be given credit, went to Pat Toomey, who is a Club for Growth guy who's always been known as a staunch conservative, but he's one of that class. We always hear about what's coming up in 2014. 2016, there are going to be a lot of Republicans that won in swing states or states that lean Democratic, Kelly Ayotte and Pat Toomey and others, who are going to be up in a presidential year, where their states are going to go for a Democratic presidential candidate likely, and they're going to have to go against the tide.
Right.
Did Pat Toomey do this because he's a good human being, or did he do it for that reason? I don't know. Could be could be that he saw the light. Could be. I don't really care. That's exactly right. So he joined in with Joe Manchin, and that gave a lot of cover to Republicans and Democrats from so-called, from not so-called, but from red states who are scared of this, even though every poll will tell you, even in, I can name a state, Arkansas, 84% support universal background checks. Oklahoma, 87% support. I mean, this is something that you can't find a state where it's under 80%.
And my sense is that most people actually believe, regardless of where they are on any type of gun control, most people believe this is already in place. I mean, there was a poll that came out.
That's the biggest problem.
There was a poll that came out at the beginning of the week that showed that people who say we want less gun, we don't need more gun control, we just need our laws to be in place, already think that there is really an extensive background check in terms of the depth and the breadth. In other words, it covers as many different transactions. They already think that's in place, but in fact, it is not. We're almost 50.
Right. Well, two things. Common sense tells you this. It's if you're thinking to yourself, would you actually allow someone to buy a 50 caliber rifle that can take down a helicopter or a small airplane without a background check? What would you think most people, just using common sense, their answer would be? Of course not. How
Right.
would you would you let someone buy a shoulder held missile? I mean, so would you let them buy a 50 caliber rifle that can do that? No. Would you let them buy the type of assault weapon a Bushmaster that did in Newtown allowed this guy to shoot 154 shots in like no time? No, you wouldn't. So most people can't. They believe it already exists because common sense would tell you that in any country that had any common sense, it would already exist. Not to mention, you've had 20 years of NRA propaganda where they have suppressed any and all studies on guns and violence. At the CDC, at the ATF sharing information publicly and everything. When their big line about we just want the guns to be enforced on the books. That's the biggest lie of all. They've not allowed anybody to run the ATF since 2007. They won't allow anybody to get through the Senate. They hamstring their budget. They don't allow them to share information often with other federal agencies. I mean, they do everything they can to make sure the laws are not enforced. There's corrupt dealers out there that sell guns out the back door to criminals and knowingly do it, but they've made sure to get measures passed that you can't force these guys to do an inventory. So that they can tell, so that you know what guns are there and aren't there. These gun dealers. I mean, this is what the NRA does. So of course, most people aren't fully aware of what our laws are because they've suppressed information, and common sense would tell you, of course, that we would have these laws. But even taking that aside, again, you're right, Sam. Look, in many states, 90+%, overall nationally, 92% support this. We actually found in polling that was done by Mayors Against Illegal Guns, there are one or two districts in places like Chris Smith's district in New Jersey where 100% supported this. 100%. Have you ever seen a poll where 100% of people supported anything?
No. Not even not even if you were to say are interterrestrials fake, you'd still get like 6% going. I don't know. No, that's crazy.
Exactly. I mean, anywhere I take this right now, I'd start going into like the realms of porn or something, and I'd probably get myself in trouble.
Right.
So let's just say 100% of people don't ever almost support anything. But yet these guys, the cowards that some of them are, still feel like they need cover. They're given it when you've got a conservative like Pat Toomey, when Coburn supports this bill going forward, and others. Most of who you consider the semi-moderate to moderate Republicans, even though they basically don't exist anymore, like Susan Collins and Mark Kirk, supported this thing going forward. But you had a number of the Republicans that didn't. The ones that threatened the filibuster originally, the crazy crew, Rand Paul, who I guess wants to stop drones but wants people instead to shoot each other with assault weapons, and Ted Cruz and Mike Lee from Utah, who's just an insane person. And sadly, with all of that, most of the Democrats, almost every Democrat did the right thing, but Mark Begich of Alaska and Mark Pryor of Arkansas, even with 80% to 90% of the people in their states supporting these measures, decided to join the NRA, the black helicopter crowd, and everyone else, and give bogus reasons. So Mark Pryor also being one of, to talk about those two senators for a second, Mark Pryor is also one of three who refuses to come out for gay marriage, who's anti-choice. So think about that if you're going to waste any of your time trying to get Mark Pryor reelected in Arkansas this upcoming election, because I think if there's a time to show that you're willing to stand up to terrible Democrats, he'd be the one. And Mark Begich, who's just an out-and-out liar because he used to be a member when he was the mayor of Anchorage of Mayors Against Illegal Guns. And then suddenly he realized the organization wasn't doing what he wanted when he ran for the Senate in Alaska, and now he's gone all the way over to the other side, showing that he has absolutely no principles, and basically might as well just be a Mitt Romney clone.
Yeah, not no principles. It's just that his principle is just I've got to be the biggest panderer possible.
That's exactly right. And
all right, so let's talk.
That is a principle. I suppose you're right. It's something to aspire to. He's got a lot
of
competition
I don't know
there
if
in
you
Washington.
want to aspire to it, but I mean, it is. It is for some people the Northern Star, right? I mean, you need some.
But in Washington, though, it's almost like winning the Grammy. You know what I mean?
So
in that way, he can get the award and get up and thank everyone. Maybe make the case and say, look, I used to belong to an organization that's pushing for this bill and be an active member of that organization, and now I've joined. I'm now working with the NRA, the exact opposite organization, to help get kids killed.
Okay.
So if anybody shouldn't be able to win that Grammy, I would think he would.
All right, let's get into the specifics of the bill at this point. Okay, so the bill basically requires background checks. It closes the gun show loophole. Is that right?
It covers gun shows and internet sales. It
Right.
adds them to now the federally licensed dealers. So it's not the universal
So you could
background
still
checks that
meet
we would
somebody
want,
in a
but it's a
parking
lot
lot.
closer.
You can still meet somebody in
I'm
a
sorry?
parking lot, right? You can still meet somebody in a parking lot, and they open up their trunk and they say, here we go. You're okay. Is that right? Or
That's the part that I'm trying. I'll be frank with you. I'm trying to understand. I don't think you can do that, but I think it allows transfers between neighbors. So if you happen to, if you're a lunatic and you happen to be lucky enough to live next to somebody and befriend them, then I suppose that's okay.
and family members too, is my understand. So it's
Yes,
basically the vast majority of private transfers. We don't know exactly how that's written at this point. Um,
that's right.
Now, there's also my understanding is, and there's going to be amendments, but in addition to that, in the bill, there's also a increased punishments for straw purchases and a lowering of the bar. In other words, and this is going to be something that's I think there's somebody who's going to try to amend, but you don't when you purchase for somebody else, you don't necessarily have to know, according to the legislation as it's framed now, that they wouldn't pass a background check. You just have to know that you're buying it for other people, essentially, right? I mean, that's sort
Yes,
of the deal.
and that's what makes it much more enforceable. That's exactly right. So
And
that that's gun trafficking in the end, and we have no strong federal standard on that because, of course, the NRA has fought that too.
and that's important
Yeah,
because that's the way, when you go and then, well, I bought 20 guns, and that transaction, theoretically, there should be some record of. And then you take them and give them or sell them to people who end up committing a crime and would have failed a background check. At least there's some measure of potential accountability through that string of purchases, right? I mean, that would theoretically make you more hesitant to make that sale to that individual.
right. And look, this stuff works. These guys try to carve out this universe where gun laws work differently than everything else, and they don't. I mean, when you make it clear and when there's clear laws in place, most people, there are exceptions to that, try to avoid going to prison.
Right, you're making
It's
it
pretty
harder.
simple.
You're making it harder
I mean,
for people all through the all. You're making the cost benefit analysis throughout the process different for each
that's
individual who
exactly right.
partakes in that, that ends up putting a gun into somebody's hands. And you also and because you're rejiggering the cost benefit analysis for all those different players, you're inevitably making it harder for the gun to travel through a system. That's simple physics. And when we debate issues like whether or not more people are going to take drugs if we decriminalize drugs, the real issue is ultimately a cost benefit, a wider cost benefit analysis. And for those people who think that there is the wider cost benefit analysis, it's always this slippery slope, right? That's going to lead us to a Red Dawn scenario.
Well, democracy is a slippery slope by definition. I mean, and that's the whole thing. It's like we sit there and we pass laws. Anytime you make something, illegal, that is a partial measure. Could you make something more illegal? Could you? Of course you could. I mean, we try to find the common ground, the areas that keep the most people safe, that provide for the most stability and security, and give people the most privacy. And we try to find that balance, and we try to pass those laws. So, as I said, somehow these guys, what they successfully have done when they had nobody pushing back at them for the most part for 20 years, is have taken the gun debate and made it like that debate is different than everything else. Oh, if we make guns illegal, people, if we do background checks at gun shows, people will just go get them in other places.
Right.
So, there's no point in doing that. Also, along that line of thinking, there's really no point in making rape or murder illegal because some people actually still choose to do it.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously just stupid and it makes no sense. Yes, some people will find other ways to get guns. Plenty of others, like the 1.8 million in recent years that have been caught using the background check system for federally licensed dealers, we will catch a lot more people this way. And other people will do the cost benefit analysis, as you said, and not try to do it. It's like any other public health, any other issue, or really any other issue of law. You try to find numerous different ways to get at it and prevent bad things from happening.
And so,
Go ahead.
okay, and just going forward on this now, that's all that's in the bill at this point. We anticipate some amendments being brought up to ban assault weapons, to ban high capacity magazines. There's a good chance, obviously, that those amendments are going to fail. What is your sense of the chance that something is going to pass, and that something is going to be worth doing something? In other words, there was an analysis in the Washington Post. I can't remember which one of those guys it was, who was basically saying, like, there's a danger in passing a legislation that is really anemic, because then critics say, look, we knew you passed this gun rate. It didn't do anything. It didn't help at all, which was...
And you can bet, I've thought about that, because you can bet the NRA, they'll be lining up to do that.
Of course.
State doesn't help.
Of course. So what is your assessment, or can you make that assessment until you see the final bill?
No, I need to see the final bill, but my assessment overall is, look, I mean, again, I view this issue the way I view when it comes to, tobacco, or the way I view drunk driving, or the way I view any other public health issue, which is you need to come at it from 20 different angles to solve it. And something positive is better than nothing. And so the thing that the people that say that, and I realize the NRA is going to do that, but the NRA right now does that.
Right.
Even without these background checks, they say, look, we've got enough laws in the books and they don't work. So it doesn't, they're going to do that no matter what. That's their game. So are the people that are in bed with them, like the Ted Cruzes of the world and the Mark Begiches and Mark Pryors. So I can't. To me, that's not a strong enough reason not to pass something that will positively change things. And of course, you know where I stand on this. I want an assault weapons ban. I want there to be a magazine limit. Hell, I support what Maryland just did in supporting fingerprinting for people that buy handguns. I'd lower from 10 down to 7 like New York did in the bill they passed in terms of how many bullets can be in a magazine. Hell, I'd lower it down to 5. Maybe what I want and what's going to happen are two different things. So I need to be realistic, which I'm trying to be, in saying what prevents more harm, what is worth passing. To me, the bill that is as it exists right now, because of my knowledge of how many illegal sales go on, or how many sales to criminals and the mentally ill go on over the internet, that go on at gun shows where it's very easy to just go and get it from a private seller, that this will make a positive difference if this can get through. Right. And so, as well as the gun trafficking part of this, so I have to be in favor of it. It also, politically, it's a blow to the NRA because they don't want it. And if you can beat the NRA and show people you can beat the NRA, as we've now done in a number of states, that's a big statement too.
And what is its chances in the House if it gets through the Senate?
I'm going to go right now probably with about 50-50.
All right.
I think the biggest the biggest chance we've got in the House is that there are a number of Republicans. If you just look at the Republicans from districts in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, you'd find a dozen that are from either a mixture of urban, suburban districts that are overwhelmingly much even more. I mean, not that you can be much higher than 92%, but what I was telling you about Chris Smith's district, you start seeing things like 97% in favor. There's going to be a lot of Republicans who are going to be pressured. Peter King has already signed on to this. He's from one of those districts and is lobbying fellow members and pushing for it. It's all going to be how many Pryors and Begiches are there? You'll lose Matheson and Barrow and some of the scummy blue dogs who you tend to lose on anything that has any positive impact on this country. How many of those guys can you keep in check? Because I do think you can win about 24 Republicans over that are in those kinds of districts. As I said, they're mostly cloistered in the Northeast, but there's a number of them also in parts out west and other areas, the Great Lakes states, Minneapolis suburbs and others, where there are people who are in districts that are clamoring for this. So right. I think there's a good chance.
All right, interesting.
But
right,
also, it can be undermined, and Boehner can stop it.
Right.
And, I mean, there's plenty that can get in the way, so we need to be realistic about it.